Starting an Abstract with a Game by Doris Charest. Here's my game again, and what we're going to do is roll the dice. I roll and I get a 5. So now what I'm going to do is look at the 5. I use rectangles, lines, green, orange, and spatter. So I'm going to use those colors and I'm going to create a painting. So remember, rectangles, lines, spatter. So we're going to just start with a dark green. This kind of blocks the color in, and I'll work on top of that. Remember that these are sample paintings, and in these sample paintings, I'm preparing for a larger abstract. I'm working out all the kinks that I might get when I have a larger painting. I make sure that my composition and my design that I want is just right, so that I'm not working it out on a large canvas and possibly waste a large canvas. So I let this dry, and then I add a second color, which is a lighter green. I just added white to this, and I'm creating a rectangle. Pretty simple. You don't have to get complicated with abstracts. It's pretty easy. And I let that dry. I'm going to add an outer color, more of a purple green. I actually just put a little blue in the green and it looks that way. Now I'm adding the orange, because remember the orange or I should say red. This is like a reddish, like a red-orange. I just thought this was the better color for the green that I put down there. And they look pretty good together. It could actually just be an abstract like that. But I'm going to add some more. Remember, I was supposed to add some spatter, so I've added spatter in more or less 3 places. Another color would be good. So what I'll do is mix another color, or I will add lines. Lines are another item that you can add that was on that list. Remember that the suggestions I have on the game are optional. If you decide you don't want to use all the elements, you don't have to. But it's a great way to get you started. Whoops, my brush missed, so I'm going to make it the same all over. Sometimes if you have happy accidents, like this might be, where my brush slipped a little bit, you can just repeat that same thing and make it part of your design. Or you could just wipe it out and paint over it too. But I've chosen to just make it part of the design. Now I'm going to add a lighter green. I just added more white than I did before, and I'm going to spatter it. The canvas is dry, so I can wipe it. And I can take out any that I don't like, or I can just leave it the way it is. So I'm adding a darker blue now. Remember that when you're creating a painting, you need light colors, very light colors, very dark colors, and several in-between colors. So here I'm repeating that design where my brush slipped. If my brush hadn't slipped, I wouldn't have this very unique design. So that's another idea for you. You incorporate your accidents and make them part of the design. And I'm making the eye lead towards the red rectangle. Is that enough? I don't think so. So I'm going to add circles, just using the bottom of my ink bottle. Circles are not part of what was on the list, but it felt right this time, so I'm just going to add these circles and let it dry. They don't look too bad, but what I want to do is lighten the area near the circles. I want to have an area where it looks like the light is coming in. And adding that light orange really helps. The orange is created by adding a little white to it and a little yellow. If you add just straight white to orange, you get a coral kind of color. And again, I repeat the color. So I spatter just a little bit of that color, and it really helps unify the painting. Remember, repetition is important in abstracts, well, and actually in any painting. Repetition of color is what gives your painting unity, and that's important to do. Now I'm going to just add a little bit more of light colors. It looks too neutral to me. If you squint, you'll realize that just about everything's the same value. What you want is a light value, a dark value, and several medium values. Now I'm going to spatter a little bit of that lighter orange again, just to repeat it, and put it in this circle. Maybe that circle too, maybe all the circles, but not the same intensity. You want to vary your color as much as possible, and an interesting way to vary the intensity is to put a lighter coat, a medium coat, and a heavier coat of the same color. I kind of like that. I wonder which way is better, that way, or this way. I want to add some lighter yellow. It's still too dark for me. I have some lighter values, but I don't have very many. So I'm going to add a very light yellow here and let it dry and see what happens. It's very watered down because I have this technique I want to try. And you'll see it looks great once it's done. There, I have my yellow in 3 different areas, and we'll see how that goes. Now what I'm going to do is spatter it with some alcohol. So here it is, and it creates these oval shapes and very interesting patterns. You can sort of shape it a little bit. You can add some paint and watch it go in different places, and have some parts where there's more paint and parts where there's less paint. We'll let that dry, and we'll see what it looks like once it's dry. Things change a lot when they are drying. Here it is dry, and I like it again. So I still want some lighter areas. So I'm going to take out my white and just add a little bit of white in certain areas to make it look like a highlight. So the light is coming in from one corner and spreading towards the central circle there on the rectangle. It's like the light is shining on there and there's reflection there. And just a little bit. I tend to use my fingers a lot. I don't know if you do, but it's really hard. My fingers are way better than my brush. So have a look. I think that looks a lot better with the lighter tones. So you have light areas, medium areas, and dark areas. And that's exactly what you want. Now it's your turn. I want you to roll those dice and see what you get. Have fun creating.